Hello people on the internet, and more specifically my math teacher, and welcome to this presentation that I'm gonna be doing about the 5 dimensions we know that they certainly exist. These dimensions that, of course, I said we know and we live in, define length, width, depth, and time. There are many more dimensions. For example, according to the string theory, the universe operates with 10 dimensions, and according to some scientists, the universe operates with 26 dimensions, which is mind-blowing considering the fact that we're third-dimensional beings and we can only understand 4 dimensions. And that's why I am going to talk about the dimensions that we can comprehend and understand. Plus, these are just theories that I just said, so we cannot know for sure how many dimensions there are in the universe. So why not explain the ones we're certain about? The first dimension is considered to be the zeroth dimension. The best way to imagine the zero dimension is just to put a dot in space. Yeah, just grab a paper, put a dot, and that's the zeroth dimension. Now, if you want to create the first dimension, just draw a line on this paper and you already have the first dimension. And I need to burp. I'm really sorry. I'm gonna cancel that just a second. Great, now I can continue on. The second dimension is more complicated than the first and zeroth, obviously, just because I can give a clearer example of how a second dimensional universe would work and how second dimensional creatures see the world. Now, to understand the second dimension, just draw a square. That's right, that's the second dimension. But the best example for somebody to understand fully this dimension is by making them play a 2D game. That's right. Games are the best example of how a second dimensional creature can see the universe and how this universe operates. Of course, you maybe pity them, but we should pity ourselves as well, to be honest. A second dimensional creatures cannot see the third dimension, the dimension that we live in. To create the third dimension, we just need to draw a cube. And now we have it, the dimension we live in. Of course, this dimension, our dimension, defines length, width, and depth. We understand these things completely fine just because we see them in everyday life. It's something that we see when we're born. But just as second dimensional creatures cannot see the third dimension, the same way us, the third dimensional creatures, cannot see the fourth dimension or fully comprehend it. It's the hardest to explain, but let's just say the most simple things about this dimension. The fourth dimension is actually called the space-time dimension. Single locations in this dimension can be given as vectors or in tuples, for example, as ordered lists of numbers such as t, x, y, and z. It is only when such locations are linked together into more complicated shapes that the full richness and geometric complexity of the 4D and higher dimensional spaces emerge. A hint to that complexity can be seen in the accompanying animation of one of the simplest possible 4D objects, the 4D cube or tesseract. Other four-dimensional figures are the hypospheres. The hyposphere and its purpose is that it's a part of the Friedmann-Lemaitre-Robertson-Walker metric in general relativity. The air in the hyposphere is substituted by the function RT, with T meaning the cosmological age of the universe. Growing or shrinking air with time means expanding or collapsing universe, depending on the mass density in sight. Congratulations, now you understand the fourth dimension and its purpose, the space-time dimension. A temporal dimension is a dimension of time. A temporal dimension is one way to measure physical change. It is perceived differently from the 3 special dimensions in that there is only one of it and we cannot move freely in time, but subjectively move in one direction. And that is the future. Woohoo, let's get into that. You watch all the sci-fi movies? That is nothing. Woohoo. We cannot move back in time, but we can see the past. Even though we're third-dimensional beings. And I know, it sounds crazy, but it's actually true. The best example I can give for us being capable of seeing, the past is when you grab a telescope and you look at a star that is 5 light years away from us, you see the way the star looked like 5 years ago. Just because it takes the light that the star is emitting 5 years to reach our eyes. At least we can see back in time. It's not the best thing because it's a big struggle for people that, work in the field of astrology and everything connected to space. But that's life. Honestly, if you want to check more and understand more the four-dimensional, space, you can always watch movies such as Alice in Wonderland or Harry Potter. For example, Hermione's watch that makes us travel back in time and attend classes that she cannot attend just because she's attending another class at the same time. There are many other examples in different literature works, but we can never see or understand fully the fourth dimension because we're stuck in the third. Okay, guys, that was the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I really hope that you now understand the 5 dimensions we live in. Thank you guys for watching, and more specifically my math teacher. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you next time.